Welcome to The Dad Lawyer, a program produced by the Parents Estate Planning Law Firm in conjunction with ActonTV. I'm David Feakes, your host and founder of the Parents Estate Planning Law Firm in Acton. The Dad Lawyer is a program that highlights the legal and financial issues that are specific to parents and growing families in Acton and the surrounding communities. So this morning I'm joined by Laura Thicket of Fickett Financial Coaching. Laura, welcome to The Dad Lawyer.
Thank you.
So share for our viewers some of your background and really who is Laura Thicket?
So I grew up in Worcester, Massachusetts, not too far from here, and I am the youngest of 7 children, which is unheard of now. My father unfortunately passed away at the age of 14, and I applied for many scholarships to get into college. I ended up going to Assumption College, also in Worcester, got my bachelor's, and I got my MBA there as well. And I went on to become a certified public accountant. And then I went into public accounting. I worked in auditing. I did some tax work. I ended up taking a brief break from my career to have 3 beautiful children. And while I was taking a break, I couldn't take a break from money. And so I formed a direct sales business. And I became an executive there and learned sales and leadership skills and helped a lot of people grow their direct sales business. Then I went back to public accounting when I was getting divorced, and I went back into auditing. I became a resource manager, a firm administrator, and all the way up into a controller of a regional firm. And that's when I decided that I wanted to leave public accounting and get more into the coaching aspect. I had always been coaching on the side and I loved it. And so I formed Fickett Financial Coaching, and I really love it. I'm now remarried. I have another 4-year-old child, so I have 4 kids. We're stopping there. We're not getting up to 7 like my family. But yeah, I've stayed in Massachusetts, and I have stayed in accounting and business and finance. I love it.
So your firm, Fickett Financial Coaching, and that's a mouthful sometimes, is somewhat unique, as I've discovered. Tell us a little bit about what the firm does.
So a lot of times when people have financial issues, they feel like they're alone and they have to figure them out themselves. You know, and even if you have an education in, you know, being a lawyer or a doctor, or you didn't go on to college, a lot of times you didn't get a lot of financial education, whether it's personal financial education or business financial education. So what I do is I help individuals and business owners with that education that they really lacked. And I help them work through some of the complex financial stress type issues that they're having. It could be, you know, anywhere from debt. It could be forward thinking into the future. They could want to meet with a financial advisor and just don't have any money to meet with a financial advisor. So we could be meeting to talk about how they can develop some good habits around money. And it's a really fun and rewarding career. I enjoy it a lot.
So what prompted you to offer this kind of service?
So I noticed that when I was working with people that I had an extensive education in accounting, and that helped me through, you know, the loss of a parent and divorce and all of those stressors that came up, having little children and things like that. And I always thought, you know, money, accounting, finance, it was easy. But I found that a lot of people really lack in that area, just even fundamentals of budgeting and how to manage their money properly. And so I started coaching people on those, all of that education and knowledge that I had in my head. I started imparting it on to individuals and business owners and helping businesses grow. And it really just started more and more clients and more referrals, because it's something that is fundamentally lacking in our school system, I feel, and in our education system. You're taught to be good at what you do, but all the accounting, business, and sales kind of escapes you.
So I'm a potential client thinking about hiring you as a coach. Mm-hmm. How do I know that you're the right person to help me? What professional certifications do you have in this area?
Well, so I'm a certified public accountant, and so that gives me the accounting background that I need to teach you about budgeting and about, you know, a personal balance sheet or a business balance sheet, and really understand when you hand your papers off to your accountant, maybe you don't understand what comes back on your tax return. So I can talk to you about tax planning and things like that, and how the impacts of your decisions really impact your net worth, and they impact your you know, taxes at the end of the year. Then I'm also a certified financial stress reduction coach, and that enables me to coach in a group setting, a workshop where I can teach people the fundamentals of sales, business, and accounting, and how to make more money, manage it better, and then actually retain it and keep some of it. The average person in their 30s or 40s has already made over $1 million in their lifetime, and a lot of them do not have $1 million to show for it.
So, who is your ideal client? Just generally, who is your ideal client?
So my ideal client is one that is willing to learn, willing to be coached, open-minded, and you know, they want to make significant changes for the better in their life, and they just don't know how to do it. So that's the ideal client. If it's a business owner, it could be a business owner, usually a small business owner, that is kind of stuck, and they know they need to do something, but they're not really sure what they need to do. And so they want to expand the business, or they want to maybe pull back and work less and manage more. And so that's an ideal business client. An ideal individual client is one where, you know, they have credit card debt, and even when they start to pay it down, it just creeps back up again. Or they have student loans that really are just suffocating them and they can't see a way out. Or they've always wanted to invest with a financial advisor, and they just haven't developed any habits or behaviors to save any kind of money to put towards retirement and things of that nature. A lot of times these stressors, the big stressors in your life, when you're moving or having a child or getting a divorce, those stressors are financial stressors. And so when anyone's going through those phases, those are good clients for me too.
Is there a certain level of investable assets somebody has to come with to become a coaching client of yours?
Thankfully, no. Some of my clients have nothing. They're one step away from not meeting their mortgage payment. And then other clients are making, you know, large sums of money, high six-figure incomes, but they're highly leveraged as far as debt and things like that go. So we don't really look at the investments. We look at what their goals are in life, and if they want to get ahead, then we look at that. A lot of times I am the first person to meet with a client before going to a financial advisor. I have a lot of financial advisors that actually refer clients to me to help them get situated and change some of their behaviors, so that way they can have more money to invest. So no, you don't need $1 million to see me. You just need a telephone to reach me, or email.
And don't need to already be working with a financial advisor to work with you?
Absolutely not. A lot of my clients are not at that point yet, but they will be after we're done working together.
Do you make referrals to financial advisors as a result of your coaching work with clients?
I absolutely do. A lot of times when I'm sitting down and I'm working with a client about their financial stressors, we uncover that perhaps they need a will, and so they need a lawyer. Or perhaps they want to save for retirement and they just don't know how. So I will work with them, and we'll start saving, and when they have like a little nest egg kind of started, then I can refer them to a financial advisor if they don't know one already.
And I think you've talked about this a little bit, but is there a particular trigger that causes a potential client to seek out your services, or is there a range of triggers that you see day to day?
So usually the trigger is when they find out that a financial stress reduction coach exists. Every time I say that I'm a financial stress reduction coach, people laugh and they say, "Oh boy, you must be very busy." So that's usually the trigger, when they find out that I exist. But a lot of times when people refer their friends, family, and clients, it's because they've recognized, you know, that they're in credit card debt, or they're in student loan debt, or they're kind of stuck and they need to get more clients in their business and they don't know how. Or a lot of times people want to start their own business and get out of the corporate world, and they don't even know how to get clients and how to take a part-time business into a full-time business. And so any of those triggers where you feel financial stress, that's where I come in.
I have to admit, the first time we met, I did not know there was such a thing as a financial stress reduction coach.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation. We'll be right back. Okay, I have Mark Shire and Jeremy Wonders with me now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Miracle League of Massachusetts. So Mark and Jeremy, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Tell our viewers a little bit about the Miracle League and how long it's been in existence.
Well, the Miracle League is a national program. It's been in existence for decades. The Miracle League in Massachusetts has been in existence since, I think, 2007. It was started by Andy and Lauren Rickard, who live in Acton, and Rich and Mary Shortenlieb. You may know Rich Shortenlieb as the Rich of Toucher and Rich. Yeah. And they started it all back about 9 years ago. And Jeremy and I have been involved for the past few years, both as members of the board of directors. And our favorite thing to do is to announce the games. We each announce 2 games every Saturday morning.
So what is the Miracle League all about?
So the Miracle League is a nonprofit special needs baseball league or a little league, and we hold the games at Nara Park here in Acton. We do 7 games in the fall, 7 games in the spring, and the Miracle League is open to any child from 5 to, is it 22, Mark?
22, yeah.
That wouldn't thrive in a normal Little League setting. It's free for the families, and we service about 150 families throughout the state. And we run a buddy system that helps the athletes on the field interact with their teammates and with the other team as they make their way up to bat and around the bases. And the buddy system, the buddies are actually volunteers from the community, kids from schools, and just people that want to come down and help. And so we're here today to talk a little bit about the Miracle League, make sure everybody knows that we're here, and that we are always looking for buddies to come down and help us out.
Yeah.
And the participants in the league, any limitations or any requirements, limitations, or anybody with a disability invited to participate?
Yeah, it really is amazing because we have some very high functioning kids. We've got some ball players who can just hit the ball out of the park. I mean, we've got some very good athletes. We also have people who are kids who are severely impaired. We have a couple of blind children. We have others with severe disabilities that have to be assisted at home plate, hitting the baseball. But the great thing is watching the parents in the stands, having a couple hours of time just watching their kids participate. And the best thing about the Miracle League, and Jeremy and I have both seen this, is just how supportive all the kids are of all the other kids. I mean, it would be great if this translated into other areas of our society, but the amount of support and collaboration and help that these kids give one another is just incredible.
And when does the season take place, and how long does it last for?
Well, we just started our spring season.
Fall.
Fall season last week, and that lasts 7 weeks. So we go into early
October 14th.
October 14th is our trophy day, and then we do 7 games in the spring as well. And I think we start up in April.
Yeah, we do, and we also had Nesson come out and do a game with us in June, and so we're getting more on the, we're getting more publicity with the Red Sox, with the Lowell Spinners, and hopefully we'll get some traction. The important thing is that the Nara Park field is pretty much the only adaptive full-size baseball field in Massachusetts. So we have kids actually drive 45 minutes to an hour and a half to come to these games on Saturday.
And the format of the games?
Every game ends in a tie, right?
Everybody gets 2 chances to hit, so there's really no rules, there's no outs. Everybody gets a chance to go around the bases and gets a chance to participate no matter what their disability. And we encourage anyone who's interested to really to come down and join us on a Saturday morning and see what it's all about. I promise you, you won't be disappointed.
All right, well, Jeremy, Mark, thank you for joining and popping in and sharing a little bit about the Miracle League of Massachusetts with us, and we look forward to seeing everybody out on the ball field. For more information, you'll find a link on your screen so you can learn more about the Miracle League of Massachusetts. Thank you both for stopping in.
David, thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Great,
thank
thanks.
you.
Guitar, it's Matthew! And he's doing the sit-ups! He's doing it! Unbelievable! Yeah, we've got Eddie! Awesome! We've got double trouble. They have linked on.
And we're back with the Dad Lawyer, and we're continuing our conversation with Laura Thicket from Fickett Financial Coaching. So Laura, I know that you offer a workshop to clients. Talk a little bit about what you offer and how it works.
So I offer a financial stress reduction workshop, and the reason for that is because private coaching can sometimes be scary for people, and it can be expensive. And a lot of times when people say, "Oh, coaching," I don't think I have the money for that. So the workshop method is really cost-effective way to get a group of people together. It's over the telephone, so you can be in your pajamas if you want to be, and it meets one night a week for 8 weeks. We go through a 235-page workbook broken out into 8 chapters, 1 chapter a week, and we go through a lot of the issues that people might have, whether you're in business for yourself or you're an individual working for somebody. We go through issues like change, how to accept change and how to be more open to change, because life changes every day. And so if you're not open to change, it's going to be very difficult for you to get through life without a lot of stress. And so how do we change your patterns and behaviors as well around money? A lot of people do not have a good relationship with money, and that's why money seems to go. And we talk about financial background in our second week. And what jobs have you had that you liked and what ones didn't you like? And where were some of the issues that you did well and some of the places where you didn't do well. You don't want to repeat the patterns of the places where you didn't do well, and you want to continue the patterns where you did do well. Sometimes people say, "Oh, that worked so good that time I did it," and then they stop doing it. So it's pretty enlightening. Then in the third week we talk about budgets and cash flows, and budget stands for baby you deserve getting everything. It's a way for you to tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. So that's a fun course. A lot of people don't know how to budget, and so teaching the fundamentals of budgeting is really helpful. Then in week 4 we talk about time management and money management. And time, we talk about how there's only 168 hours in a week. And so money is infinite, but time is not infinite. Although I have had people do a time budget and they've come up with 174. I don't know how that works. Then the next 4 classes, we're focusing on forward thinking. What kind of goals do you want to set, and how do you actually achieve them? People set goals in January all the time, and they don't achieve them. That's how most of the gym membership is up in January, because people set all kinds of goals. So how do you actually set a goal and do the action steps to achieve it? Then we talk about breakthrough, which really means that when you have a breakdown, because life happens, how do you have the tools to break through the barriers and the roadblocks that have come your way, and actually continue on the path that you've set for yourself. Because sometimes when people, get something thrown in their direction, they'll just stop and revert back to what they were doing before, or they'll take a different direction. And maybe that's not the best thing for your financial situation. Maybe you just need to try and break through that roadblock. And we talk about perspective. I do have some clients that come to me and say that their family is the most important thing, and they work 80 hours a week and don't take vacations. So we talk about how to keep everything in line and perspective in life. And then we do a completion wrap-up, and that's usually where I'll refer people out because they're ready to move on to a financial advisor for a more detailed plan, or they're ready to move on to an estate planning lawyer to come up with their will and their legacy. Videotaping. So that's kind of how the 8-week workshop structure works. It's a 2-hour-a-week call, and so the first hour where really every participant gets a chance to speak about how their week went, and there's a little bit of homework every week. So how did the homework go? And that's really where I have an opportunity to do some individual coaching. And then the second hour is where I can tell them about the material that we're learning in that week. So it's a cost-effective 8-week workshop, and it's actually, because it's spread out over 8 weeks, it's not like when you go to a weekend workshop and you get so pumped up and excited and you're like, I'm going to implement all this stuff, and then 2 weeks later you haven't implemented a thing. Over 8 weeks we actually implement everything that we're working on, and you see significant changes. I guarantee the workshopper it's free. So
that's the workshop. If I come to you as a private coaching client, what can I expect?
So as a private coaching client, sometimes the workshop is not for everybody, and I understand that, or they just want to focus on, money management. And so we'll have a meeting first to determine what is really stressing you. What issues do you need to address? And we'll lay them out on the table, and we will chunk away at them one by one. And I will make sure from one session to the next that you've actually implemented the things that we've talked about, which that really is where the coaching comes in. In sports, that's where people think of coaches. And everybody knows how to play football on the Patriots team, but without Bill Belichick, to make them experts, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. So that's where the coaching comes in. I can give you the information that I have in my head, but in the private session, we really work through how are you going to implement it in your life, and how is it going to impact your life so that you can reach your financial goals.
Is there one, if you can boil it down to one piece, or even is there one piece of advice you could give the families that are watching us today about how they can reduce financial stress in their life?
Yes. Everyone has financial stress, all the way up from, the President of the United States, all the way down to somebody that's trying to figure out where their next meal comes from. The quality of the financial stress is obviously different. But one piece of advice I have for everyone is that when you get a flat tire on your car, when you actually get the flat, it's a very stressful time period, and you have to figure out how to fix the tire and get it back on, and where does the vehicle go. Then after it's all fixed and all said and done, 2 weeks later, the stress is completely gone. It's because you've addressed the problem. So the advice I have for people is that when you experience any kind of financial stress, instead of ignoring the fact that you have no idea how you're going to make the next payment, or you see that the credit card debt just keeps compounding, or you see all the other business owners are able to expand and you just can't seem to break through that barrier. When you recognize the financial stress, address the issue. Don't ignore it. And if you can't address it yourself, then seek someone like myself or anyone that can help you address those issues, because a lot of people don't like to talk about finances, and it's kind of a lonely subject. And that's where the stress comes in, is that you ignore it and you don't address it. So address the issue. And even if you have a long-term plan to pay off that student loan debt, knowing that you have a plan is better than not addressing it at all.
And finally, I know you're offering a workshop geared towards children, which I happen to think is brilliant. Share a little bit about how that works.
Yes, so I have some older kids. My 16-year-old daughter already has a Roth IRA, and my children have learned budgeting not because they know that they're being coached, but because I've always talked to them about finances. So I've had a lot of parents come to me and ask me to coach their kids individually, which I have. It's been by appointment and referral only. But now it's become such that I have a lot of parents finding that they're really stressed about sending their kids off to college at 18 or the kids graduating from college and not knowing the basics of finance. So I'm putting together a workshop that will start in 2018. It'll take place on Saturday mornings, and it will cover, the first Saturday morning will cover concepts like banking and credit and investing, compound interest, things like that. It'll be the first time for many of these tweens and teens that they hear any of these words come out of anyone's mouth. Then the second week, we're going to get into basic budgeting and consumer spending. And, you know, people need to feel comfortable that their kids at least have some sort of foundation before they release them into the wild. So that's basically the goal of the workshop, is so that I can teach more children in a workshop setting all of those basics and fundamentals on financial education that they're not getting in schools. I've actually just started talking with a nutritionalist too that might offer, along with my workshop, a third Saturday where she can talk to the children about healthy eating and making healthy food choices, because that's another area where a lot of children are deficient. I anticipate that when they go off shopping on their own, they're going to buy a lot of things that they shouldn't buy in the supermarket, and so she may be able to help them. So she may pair her services with me, and parents will be able to understand that they can get a good financial and wellness eating schedule put together for their children, so they'll have some background before they're 18 or 23. And hopefully they won't get into debt and they'll know how to pay off their student loans.
Well, as a parent, that sounds good to me.
Thank you.
All right, Laura, thanks very much. And thank you for joining me on this edition of The Dad Lawyer. I hope you'll join us again next month. If you have any questions about today's discussion or about legal planning for your family, you can visit us on the web at www.parentsestateplanning.com, or you can call our Acton office directly at 978-263-6900. For additional articles and information about the legal and financial challenges facing parents of growing families, please visit thedadlawyer.com. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.